Hello everybody, you may have noticed something slightly different about my background. I'm actually filming this in my bedroom. I recently redecorated my whole bedroom and it is a much better space just in general, and I think this might make a much better backdrop for these kinds of videos, and also hopefully easier for me to film, because during the winter months I hate going to my studio because my studio is extremely spooky because it's at the bottom of my garden, and as much as I love horror things, it ain't it. Anyway, that's a good segue because today I'm going to be redoing my horror movie tag that I did a couple of years ago, mainly to help myself kind of get back into doing videos. But it's a horror movie tag that I wrote. I have it up on I have a computer here, whoa, and a microphone. Oh my goodness, I'm a high-tech bitch. I had a weird thought today that I was talking to my boyfriend that you call these videos tag videos, but I'm not going to tag anyone, so I have absolutely no idea what to call this. Questions about horror movies and I answer them. Tag? Tell me what you think we should recall it in the comments, because I don't know. Questionnaire? That sounds so boring, like a bureaucracy. I have no idea how. I haven't watched my old video. I might answer this the same but also quite differently because my opinions may have changed. They may have also not changed, so maybe go watch the video and see how I respond. But anyway, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. We're all gonna die.
What are you friggin' doing that for? You're just gonna die.
I can't remember the first one specifically, not the first one I remember like sitting down and actually like watching with my eyeballs. I remember catching glimpses of Alien when I was a child. My mum absolutely loves Alien. She actually loves sci-fi in general. So I remember watching snippets of Alien as a wee bab and being so scared I couldn't sleep for a week. And that movie's really strange because it's very quiet. So I must have just caught some of the bits where she was either being chased, or I must have not watched the whole thing. I must have just seen bits because I don't remember much of it. I will give a shout out to Buffy the Vampire Slayer because that was probably the first horror things I saw in my life. I remember there's an episode where she is working at a fast food restaurant. She finds like a thumb in her burger. I'm like, this is literally off the top of my head. I remember I was so terrified because the concept of cannibalism, never thought about it. Me as an 8-year-old, no idea. So that was pretty heinous. What's the movie that made you fall in love with the horror genre? This is really hard to say. Maybe think watching The Shining as well probably got me to really realize that horror wasn't just ooh, spooky man, do a stab. You know what I mean? It was more psychological, it was more serious, it was more kind of conceptual about, you know, The Shining that Danny had a bit more of like a supernatural element, and it wasn't so just like gore fest. When I was a teenager, I grew up in the era of Hostel and Saw and basically everything Eli Roth made. That was my conception of horror movies, that there was just like gore fest, so I think The Shining was the one. It's kind of a weird movie for me now. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. I really enjoy it and I think it's very good, but also I think the way it was made wasn't so... Oh, my computer's taking off. Sorry guys if you can hear that. The way it was made wasn't so great. Yeah, so the way he treated Shelley Duvall, and it makes me kind of, it does taint it slightly. I don't know, it's so well loved as a movie now that it almost becomes overrated. But when I do rewatch it, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. What is my favourite horror subgenre? I would say the psychological, or I don't know if this counts as a genre, but 80s B-movie horror is some of my absolute favourite. Specifically ones that have a lot of body horror in. Something about 80s B-movie, horror movies, makes me feel very comfy, and I cannot explain it. For example, Basket Case, iconic. I've probably talked about that movie far too much on this channel. But for something about it makes you feel cozy, even though it is disgusting. And things like, obviously, Killer Clowns. I just love it. I just, the whole vibe, I find that they're a lot more fun, and their concepts are a lot more like, they just don't care. They'll just do any sort of random concept and they'll kind of run with it and make it like a fun thing. And there are some spooky elements as well in some of those movies, like some very quiet moments that can be a bit spooky. There's a scene in Killer Clowns where he's the main characters, I think the main character's in the police office, and there is a clown in there, and it's very spooky, and it, even though it's just a big giant plastic clown. Babe, what? Oh my fucking god! I'm so sorry. I have my microphone extremely precariously on top of an upside down pumpkin bucket because I needed it closer to my face and it just fell over. I'm very sorry. Horror movie that scared you so much that you couldn't sleep. The one movie that comes into my mind is Babadook. I really can't think of a movie that has scared me so much that I actually couldn't sleep afterwards. There's been some movies I've watched where they've been so intriguing that I kind of keeps me awake because I'm thinking about it. Midsommar was one of them, but it didn't frighten me. Like, it just made me more like, the visuals are so shocking or in your face that it kind of makes you go like, whoa, that's on my brain now. The reason why I say Babadook is because it really effectively captures that childhood fear of, you know, a monster in your closet, monster coming around the side of the door, at your wardrobe. I saw the Babadook at the Prince Charles cinema, so at a movie marathon. So it was already like 1 or 2 in the morning when I saw it, and I wasn't going to sleep anyway, so I feel like it doesn't really count. What horror movies do you think are overrated? This is going to be really shady. Most things Eli Roth has directed, I do not like this man. I think he is a bit of a stinky stunker. If you don't know much about him, maybe look up into some of the things that he has done and said. If you rewatch Hostel after kind of knowing what he's like as a person, the movie changes quite significantly. It comes across as very xenophobic and very, I don't know, homophobic and all that kind of icks. Yeah, so I think things like Hostel and most things that he's done, really. I know Green Inferno is not really like a popular movie, but things like that, they just, I don't find, there's nothing there. And people talk about some of his movies as if they're like really good and they really like them and like their favorite director, and it just makes me feel a bit weird. Any movies that you think are underrated? This might seem like a really random answer, but Suspiria, the original Suspiria, I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it, and I don't really see a lot of people kind of, you know, say it's their favorite movie or they praise it a lot. I watched it quite recently for the first time, and I was completely blown away. I was not expecting it to be as good or me to enjoy it as much as I did, and no one talks about it, and I don't know why. The movie is so dreamlike and so weird, and there are so many scenes in it where there's so much tension, and there's a lot of scenes in it as well which feel really abstract, and they make you feel like you're like in this weird horror dream.
But you cannot escape.
And the music is incredible, done by a band called Goblin, and some of it seems really out of place, but because the movie is so dreamlike, it fits right in once you sort of kind of get that. And I love it. It's so beautiful. The colours in it are so beautiful. There's some really long leading shots in it. The one near the end where she's walking through the tunnel, absolutely beautiful. And I just don't hear people talk about it or praise it as much. I know it probably is very, you know, people do talk about it, but I don't know. More love for Suspiria.
For the first 92.
Who is your favourite movie monster? The Thing monster is pretty disgusting in concept and in What are these hands? Execution, I think it's one of the most scariest and kind of those disgusting monsters. It's one of the ones where in person you like really do not want. The way it's portrayed in The Thing is so scary. I'll tell you what I already know.
Now I'll show you what I already know.
Come in. What's your favourite horror movie monster?
What's my favourite horror movie monster?
Yeah.
What do you mean by favourite horror movie monster though?
Oh, I said The Thing, like the thing
Thing's
from
pretty good.
The Thing. But I said it could be a natural monster or just a bad guy like Hannibal or something. Man, the true monster. Oh,
Probably is just the Thing.
I also really love Pinhead. Anything from Hellraiser I love. Like he's
Yeah, that's not what I picture as a monster though. It has to be like have like, has to like lose that human element.
He is kind of a monster.
Yeah, but he's still kind of, yeah, I suppose. When you say monster, I picture like Godzilla. Or
Yes,
something,
I know what you
or
mean.
Bigfoot.
I'm gonna say Bigfoot. Bigfoot's my favorite horror movie monster. There is a movie called Willow Creek, which is about people finding Bigfoot that I have not watched, and apparently it's very spooky, like genuinely very spooky.
You mentioned it.
Like it's not just a shit post; it's
The
actually meant to be
goblins.
scary. The goblins. Question number 8 is favorite scene or set piece from a movie, a horror movie. I don't know why I didn't write horror movie. This is a really hard one to answer because it's one of my favorite things in horror films is sometimes just the set pieces and like the theming and the places that they're set actually in. One of my absolute favorite sets in a horror movie is Crimson Peak. The Crimson Peak house is so beautiful and it's really memorable. It's almost more memorable than the movie because I remember like the living room they're in and those stairs and all of the rooms that kind of the shots are based on are just so beautiful, and it's like this perfect just beautiful gothic horror setting, and I've never seen anything really like it in any other movies. I would like to live in that house when it's not cold and scary. I did actually accidentally answer the 9th question, which is if you had to stay in one horror movie mansion or location, where would that be and why? Crimson Peak house. Where else would I stay? Another house that kind of comes into my mind is the one from House on Haunted Hill, the 1959 one that Vincent Price was in, and it's this really strange house. It's like this very blocky house. I don't know what era it's from. I actually can't find much information about it, but it's really weird because when I watched the movie I was not expecting that kind of house. I was expecting a very gothic mansion, but it's just this weird block house. It's so interesting and weird, so I'd probably stay there at night just because I can. I don't know if the inside is anything like inside the movie. Probably not. Oh, this is a spicy one. Question 10 are there any horror movies you can't watch / refuse to watch because they disgust you so much? Quite literally a million answers to this, and I can't answer all of them, but basically any movie on the most disgusting horror movie tier list. Some of those movies are just not even movies anymore. They're just kind of shit posts of how horrible people can be. Very obvious answers are like Serbian film and stuff like that, where it's just like really not fun in any way. It's more like a movie that you just sort of dare someone to watch, but then you dare someone to watch it and then they watch it and then it's like not very funny. Everyone just gets sad and it's like, oh. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, good. That's nice. Don't look it up. Don't go on Wikipedia and look up the plot synopsis like I did. Number 11, which is like the opposite of number 10. Have you got any horror movie crushes? An actor or a character or whatever? I don't really have any like crushes. That's kind of the wrong word. But people I find, what does that mean? But people who I like love seeing, like genuinely love seeing, are people like Vincent Price, and I love seeing Jeff Goldblum, and I love seeing Tom Savini. You know who Tom Savini is? I have a crush on him, admittedly.
Really?
I'm sorry. Yes.
No.
He's beautiful. He's a beautiful man, and he's very sassy, and I like a sassy man. And I like him I pretty much like him in every movie I've seen him in, even though he's kind of just like a background character usually. And he's buff as hell. Like if you see him now on his Instagram, he's so buff. He's like nearly 70, and he looks like fucking 30. It's great.
Died in Nam as well. She's kind of crazy.
He's insane. 12 is best horror movie to watch on Halloween. very obvious answer. Halloween, trick or treat. Things that are more silly horror-wise have better Halloween energy than anything that's more serious. Like, you wouldn't just like pop on Hereditary for Halloween just casually. I think things that have a bit more like silly attitudes, like Fright Night is probably a very good example of this, because it is an 80s movie in homage to 50s black and white movies, and it's got a vampire in it, and the original Fright Night, and it is very good, and the acting in it is very good, and it's sexy, and it's got a spooky house, and it's got good special effects in it, and it's not dead serious. It's kind of a bit light-hearted in the end, and yeah, Fright Night's a very good one.
This could be the night of your life. Fright Night. Coming to your neighborhood.
And the last question is, what is your guilty pleasure horror movie? I think something I would watch that a lot of people probably wouldn't understand why I like it so much is probably a good example of like a guilty pleasure. Killer Clowns is a good example. Even though I have a game theory that Killer Clowns is going to get very popular out of nowhere. It kind of already is. And literally a couple of days ago they announced a video game about Killer Clowns. But that kind of thing is like my guilty pleasure. Even though I don't really care. I just like shit posts. I like really stupid, dumb movies with like a dumb character in it and weird concepts. And I think my main takeaway from stuff like that is if I can tell they had fun making it, I probably would like it. That is all of the questions. Wow. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'll post the tag, or whatever we've decided to call it. I'll post the questions in the comments, so if you want to answer them yourself or make a video, tag me on Instagram or DM me or something. If you make a video based off this tag, I would absolutely love to see your takes on stuff. So that was everything. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! See you later! Do you want to say bye?
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to sleep.